what's behind this price objection. Let's imagine it's somebody who's wanting to exercise some control. And they say, oh, that's a lot of money. And you go, well, we can give you a discount. What did you just prove? What did you just teach that prospect? You can have control of this process. All you've got to do is challenge me and you've got control. Hey, closers, welcome to today's podcast episode of It Shouldn't Happen to Us. This is Sophia Rodriguez in the house with Carlos.
Ooh.
What are we talking about today, Sophia? We are talking about we're building.
Objections. We're building on objections.
On last week's objection handling.
With an area of concentration on price.
We're focusing in. We're like a lens. We're like a laser. We're focusing in on the dreaded price objection. Dun, dun, dun.
It's a classic. We all get it.
But we do. We all get it. But, importantly, it does build on last week's. So if you haven't watched last week's, first question to ask yourself is, what the hell are you doing? Crazy, crazy people. Watch last week's episode. Last week's episode is about the broader topic that all salespeople run into, objections. And we promised these closers, Sophia, that we would focus in on the big one. The big kahuna. Is it the big kahuna? Have I got that right? We don't really use that expression in England.
No, but I appreciate your use of it.
Okay. I don't know if I used it right. I probably didn't. Well, the big issue, the big objection is the price objection. And you know what else you should do? First of all, you should go back and watch last week. Closers, you closers out there. Second thing you could do yourself a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so that the computer will tell you when a new episode drops. This is all coming to you for free. This great selling advice from Sophia and Carlos.
Free 99.
It's free 99. And really it's free 99 plus a like, a subscribe, and a hit the notification bell. So let's assume the foundational session last week of objection handling generally is in place. Let's build on it with the price objection. So, Sophia, tell the closers out there, what is a price objection? What is it? What's it all about? Any ideas? I've got my ideas, but I want to hear your ideas.
Well, in my experience, typically I've come a long way through a long voyage, a long journey with a prospect. I've built some rapport. I've uncovered some pains. I've discovered what that pain is costing them. And now it's time. It's time for the quote, presentation, proposal. It's time to talk about what it's going to take to work together, the investment, the economic truth. Right, like you like to call it, Carlos.
It is. It's the economic truth moment. It's the.
And
moment.
So you tell them, "Do you have your seatbelt on? I don't want you to fall out of your chair. Here it is, boom!" And you lay the price on them. And the objection can sound anywhere from "damn" to "let me take this to the board," or that was right. There's a nice garden variety of price objections with the subtext being, damn, that's too expensive, or damn, that's more than what I was expecting. Which typically is actually a lie, isn't it, Carlos?
It's interesting, right? You've just reminded me of a great... first of all, you just demonstrated a technique. We're going to come to techniques. We're going to come to strategies. But you demonstrated one. It's that prep them for the price. And did you hear Sophia do it? It was marvelous. It was a work of beauty. It was like Michelangelo, like Michelangelo's David. It was a work of beauty. You said to them, hey, have you got your seatbelt on? That's a great technique. It's prepping them for the price. You got your seatbelt on.
Are you strapped in, buddy?
Strapped in. Have you got your shoulder harness on? This is going to be frightening for you.
Your shoulder.
I remember, you've just reminded me of I'm going to give a story about when I used that strategy. And, it's a little bit, I'm going to use it. And I have to preempt this with, I bring a lot of Carlos energy. I think you know the story I'm going to tell. I bring a lot of Carlos energy.
Double scoop of Carlos.
When I'm in a sales call, I get away with murder.
You do.
And I am what I'm saucy and I'm audacious and I'm bold and I am outrageous at times. I remember I was sat with a prospect, and it was a brother. There were two people that run the business for the father. Father's like retired. The two kids are running it, brother and sister. Brother's the sales lead, and he's talking to me about me helping him and his team with some sales training. And I'm talking to him. We're having a gay old time. We're having a great time. And along comes sister, and sister is the CFO, right, of the company. Mm-hmm. So she manages the pennies, the nickels, right? And she comes over, and she upset me. Right, I got riled. So she walks over to him and she says, "Is this the sales guy?" Without looking at me.
Wow. Is this the sales guy?
Wow. And I went, "Nice to meet you. Carlos is here."
Wow.
And she said, "How much is this going to cost?" That's what she said to him. "How much is this going to cost?" Like, not how are we going to
now that I feel super small.
How much is this going to cost? So I won't mention her name. I'll spare her blushes. Let's just imagine she was called Mary. She wasn't. And I said, "Mary, do you know, we haven't got there yet, but I can sense that you want to fast forward to it. Hey, I'll go there." Said, nothing to hide. But before, and I promise you I did this. I promise you this is exactly what I said. I said, "But before I share my price, you have to assure me that you have a change of clothing in your office." And she looked at me with a quizzical look. And I said, "Because when I tell you how much it is, you're likely to shit your pants." Like that. And her eyes opened like that.
I love it.
And then she got awfully flustered and sort of shuffled away. And I turned back to the bro and went, "Anyway, where were we?" And he looked at me, because clearly she talks to him like that, right? Like, what? You can't talk to your brother like that. She, and you know, I just had to stamp my my authority all over it. Because it's like, I prepped them. And it's another flavor of what you just did when you did the, "Hey, have you got your seatbelt on? Are you ready?" It's a prep them for the price. Do you always remember what Antonio used to say when he did this? Antonio used to say, and Antonio used to work with Sophia and I know he listens to the pod. So, hey, Antonio.
Hi, Antonio. We miss you.
Do you remember what Antonio used to say? He used to say, "We're somewhere between gulp and faint."
Yes.
Gasp and faint. I forget what, but it's magic positioning that, right? We're somewhere in between gasp and faint. So, but let's go back. What is a price objection? What's in there? Well, where's it coming from? Sometimes it's coming from someone who's legitimately concerned about a budget that they're trying to manage. They're managing scarce resources. Hey, you've got to have a lot of empathy for that. Sometimes it's coming from someone where, they've got to try and marry pricing with perceived value. We've got to have a lot of empathy with that. Sometimes it's coming from someone who's legitimately trying to measure and monitor and compare with competitive pricing. They're doing their analysis. I think that's legit too. They're all legit. Sometimes it's coming from someone who's just trying to exercise some control. And you know what? I think that's legit too. They're
legit. It's all legit.
Some control. It's always
and
legit.
You know what, Carlos? It's their job to do it. It's their job to do it.
The next basket I was coming to. There are some people who believe that this is where I do a price objection. Like when you're about to change lanes as you're driving, you've got to look in your mirror and look over your shoulder. Some people think when we're talking about price, it's my job. That's part of the system. Just like I look in the mirror, look over my shoulder, my job right now, I've got to raise a price objection. Absolutely to be empathized with. That's the role. It's expected behavior. And sometimes it's somebody who's just that they're filling a role. They feel that their role in the purchase just got to the part where they challenge the price. So it's less systematic and more kind of almost incumbent upon them to challenge the price. Very rarely is it legitimately somebody who has got a problem with the price. It's by a long way more often than not one of those baskets I mentioned. Somebody managing scarce resources, somebody that's marrying to perceived value, somebody who's measuring versus competition, someone who's exercising control, someone who thinks this is expected behavior, and someone who feels that they are fulfilling their role. And every one of those that I've just mentioned, none of those things are solved by reducing your price. The wrong solution to a price objection is drop your price. The wrong solution.
Closers listening, have you ever gotten a price objection and then proceeded to drop your price and then still didn't get the deal? Still didn't close? It's terrible. Imagine. It's terrible.
Well, you know what? This is such a great analysis. So let's go through some of those baskets. What's behind this price objection? Let's imagine it's somebody who's wanting to exercise some control. And they say, oh, that's a lot of money. And you go, well, we can give you a discount. What did you just prove? What did you just teach that prospect? You can have control of this process. All you've got to do is challenge me and you've got control. What about someone who's with the root behind it is this is expected behavior? You've just taught that person that this is exactly, you've just confirmed that this was expected behavior, that you did price it at a level where they're supposed to challenge you and then you're supposed to drop. It's like,
I say this, you say this.
I say it's like a tennis match, right? Mm-hmm. So that you've just proved it. They say, oh, that's a lot of money. You go, oh, 10%, I can give you 10%. And they go, oh, great. For somebody who thinks their role is to squeeze this deal at this point, they're filling their role. This is their responsibility to the budget holder, to whoever's money they're spending, even if it's their own money. They feel that their job at this point is to squeeze, and they do a little squeeze. Whew, that's a lot of money. Flinch. And you then give them a bit. What's that encouragement to do? Squeeze a little bit more. And you're going to give a little bit more.
If I can get 10%, let's see if I can score 30%.
Do you know, I remember I have a client of mine. They run into a hell of a lot of price objections. And what was fantastic when we realized it was, and by the way, these guys sell to billionaires. And once we understood that it ain't about the price, it ain't about the number, it's about one of these other things, an exercise of control, a filling of a role, an expected behavior, sort of trust issue. When we realized it was something else and we started unpicking what it really was, let me tell you, margins improved exponentially. I also remember a client of mine. Do you remember? I don't think he'd mind me saying it. I don't think he'd mind me saying. Do you remember Carlos Ruiz?
I do.
Oh, I remember he walked into my office once the day there's a great story, and I could give you the whole story, but we got to the price part, and he said, "Well, that's a lot of money," and I went, "It is what it is," and he went, "Yeah, but if you can give me a little discount," and I went, "Well, I'm not going to do that," and he went, "Okay, deal." He subsequently told me that if I hadn't been robust in price, it would have told him that I didn't. He'd already prepped this in his mind. He'd already prepped in his mind.
Man.
He was going to push for a discount. And if I gave it him, that was uncovering either skullduggery on my part. It's a great word, skullduggery, right?
Never heard it in my life.
You've never heard skullduggery?
Nope.
Skullduggery is like, it revealed bad intent, bad behavior on my part, or it revealed somebody who didn't believe in their value. That was what he was testing for. And the root of him testing, is this someone to be trusted, and does he believe in his value, was to pressure the price.
Guys.
Genius.
You know what, closers, right? Listeners, there goes to show you, not all buyers, but some buyers are walking into a sales arena with a choreography that they've rehearsed. They come prepped for the dance. We got to come prepped for that dance. And you know what, Sandler, Carlos, one of the things that we train our clients is to avoid the objection to begin with.
What is it Bruce Lee said? The best way to take a punch is to not be there when it lands. I think I might have messed that quote up a little bit.
I know.
The best way, he said, what did Bruce Lee? I'm like water. The best way to take a punch is to not be there when it lands.
Right.
Just don't Set it, which is why you've set it up have you got your seatbelt on, which is that prepping is a great strategy. You know what? Let's get to the next segment here, which is how do people prep for this? What can we do? How can we be proactive addressing these pricing concerns up front? Let's go through some of that. One of them we've already talked about, which is the test balloon, the prep, hey, it's going to be somewhere between gulp and faint, gasp and faint. Have you got your seatbelt on? Have you got a change of clothing in your office? Whatever it looks for you, set it up big. Set up the price big.
For those listeners who are in the RFP world, and you're getting beat up on price all the time, well, what about from the beginning, letting them know that amongst the 5 quotes and proposals that you're going to be taking a gander at, I know for sure mine is going to be a lot higher. Is that a deal breaker? Is that a showstopper?
That's a great way to prep them, right? It's a test balloon. Send up the test balloon. It's called indicative pricing, directional pricing. Hey, George, when you get these 5 quotes, these 5 RFPs and these proposals in, I'm pretty sure mine's going to be on the top 1 or 2 in terms of pricing. Should we save each other a bit of time? Do you even want mine in the mix? Someone says, absolutely, Carlos. The next question is, well, why the hell would you pay more? Get them to tell you why they would pay more. Get them to explain it to you. Indicative price, I'm going to be at the top. And here's the magic. When you're not at the top, they're pleasantly surprised. This is fantastic. There's another way to that's one way of contextualizing your price by pre-contextualizing it. We're going to be at the top. There are other ways to contextualize your price. Well, the first thing you should do is never use the word price in a sales call.
That's
so
right.
Guys, from a technique point of view, we never use the word price, we never use the word cost, and we never use the word budget when talking about our price. Now, when we're talking about competitor price, we can use the word cost. In fact, we should use the word cost. But when we're talking about our own pricing, we use the word, what's the magic word, Sophia?
Investment.
Why is that? Because with business owners or people generally, they are wired to reduce costs, but to invest more. Investment implies ROI. So let's get our language right. Let's get our vocabulary right here. We only use the word investment and never use the word budget. And if you're ever tempted to ask a prospect anything along the lines of, well, what budget have you set aside here? Or any sentence with the word budget in it to a prospect, then do yourself a favor. Give me or Sophia a call. Let us, beat you up for 5 minutes or 10 minutes because
for free.
You can't use the word budget for free.
For $3.99.
For $3.99 with the plus a like and a subscribe and a hit the bell.
That's
because as soon as you use the word budget, it's like ringing a bell. Sales guy in town. It's just you got to get out the habit of using the word budget. You find other ways to talk about it. Hey, you've probably got some money set aside for this. Help me understand what that is. That's contextualizing the investment. George, you've probably thought about this before I came along. What was your expectation in terms of investment? That's contextualizing it. Sophia, earlier on in the example she gave a great example of contextualizing the investment, which is she's spoken to them about the pain and she's monetized that pain. If you're solving $1 million problem, you're probably not going to solve $1 million problem well with a $10,000 investment. The world ain't set up that way. It's very unlikely that you're solving $1 million problem with a $10,000 investment. And by the way, a skilled salesperson who's structured a conversation well around this point, if they structured that conversation very well, they'll find you'll have a prospect who's almost embarrassed to disclose an expectation of $10,000 in the context.
Seriously, though.
Ridiculous, right?
Seriously.
Another way to prepare yourself for the price objection is belief. It's a battle of beliefs, right, Sophia? What do you believe about your pricing? What do you believe about your investment? What's a positive set of beliefs that our closers out there can have about their pricing? What's a positive set of beliefs? Tell me.
Man, I am 20 times ROI for all of my clients.
That's a beautiful one. We're worth every penny and twice that.
They can't pay us what we're worth. Our clients can't even pay us what we are worth. We should get pissed off. Your clients, pick up the phone and talk to one of your raving fan clients and ask them the impact that you've had on their business or on them, on their life. And I want you to get pissed off, closers, about how our clients really can't pay us what we're worth.
That's the mindset I want you to have. I want you to believe it. There's no way they can pay us what we're really worth. So we've made some attempt to come in margin, to come in market, some kind of end market rate. This strongly held belief that you're worth every penny and twice that, because that belief, guys, is about to go to battle with another set of beliefs that the prospect has got. That other sets of beliefs is, I've got to minimize this investment, this cost. Excuse me. I've got to minimize this cost. My job, my role here is to take a pound of flesh from the sales guy. I've got to manage scarce resources. I'm being conned. There's a whole bunch of other beliefs. Mm-hmm. And in that battle of beliefs, the strongest held belief wins.
You better have that strongest belief, man.
So in terms of preparing yourself for the price objection, contextualize the investment, important. Prep them for the pricing. Be proactive in that preparation. Be proactive. You got your seatbelt on. Use the test balloon, the indicative pricing. Hold very strong beliefs about your pricing. And understand some principles. For principle number one, they don't want cheap. They don't. Nobody wants cheap. Number two, price is unlikely to be the thing they're solving for. They're probably solving for a value outcome or a risk outcome or a time outcome. They're very unlikely to be solving for a price outcome. And number three, principle of all principles, Carlos's favorite, Sophia's favorite. It is never about the price. Never, ever.
Nope.
Never, ever, ever. So, some strategies. The strategies are kind of implicit in the preparation. What strategies can you think of for our closers out there that are running into? Let's do a few. Let's say prospect says to you something like, "Wow, Sophia, this is expensive." What would you do with that? Let's imagine you're selling air conditioning for whatever. Or pick another one. What's your favorite? Always your favorite. Coffee machines, or air conditioning. Or even sales training, like we sell every day. Wow, Sophia, that's expensive.
Oh,
what's the right answer there?
I honestly love going confused. But seriously, that you have to have some theater. Like, you can't fake it. Like, you actually have to act completely bewildered and let them explain how, oh my God, well, because what's going to come out of their mouth is complete BS. That's my viscera go-to, right? That is my first go-to. Second go-to might be, yeah. I would say that at Absolute Sales Development, we're probably the most expensive sales and sales management training you're going to find. Is it over?
So what Sophia's demonstrating here, guys, is the concept of a reverse. Taken a statement and spun it back. The first thing she did there beautifully, like a Olympian, was the confused, the dummy up. Oh. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Another way you could do it, I tell you what I like. I like this one. The similar way. Well, Carlos, is very expensive, this training. Expensive means, and just throw it, expensive means. Now you've got to be careful with that one, because if you've got a high D style, A-type personality in front of you, they're going to look at you like, expensive means more money than I thought it was going to
be.
But if you've got good energy flowing between you and somebody you sense they're legitimately like, this is expensive, then you're like, oh, expensive means? Because I want to know what that is. I want to hear it. I want to hear, what does it mean? Expensive versus what? What does expensive mean? Expensive versus what? The second way you handled it, which is just beautiful, like, yeah, that's right. It's a lot. And I like to follow up with, do you know, our clients typically have to get comfortable with spending. Look what I did.
Oh.
With investing. See what I did there?
See there? It shouldn't happen to us.
With investing ahead of where investing ahead of their expectation, George. Tell me, how do you think they wrap their mind around it? How do you think our clients wrap their mind around it? Just push it back on them and you'll hear the answers come at you. Well, it's because you're solving an important problem. That's it. Or, well, it's, I suppose if you want it to work, you've got to invest. That's it.
I love that. I forget. That's such a good. We have so many good ones. I forgot about that one. And pretty much getting them to tell you why you're premiumly priced.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Why would anybody pay that, right? I like what you said. Is it over? Well, no, Sophia, it's not over. But I'll tell you what that's a nice test for. It's a nice test for, were they just in their dance? Mm-hmm. Because when you say, is it over? And they say, well, no, now's when you give me a discount, right? I mean, they're never going to be as explicit and open about it as that. But no, Sophia, now's when you give me a discount. Oh, I get it. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know we were playing that game. Can we do that again? Ask me how much, and I'll just increase my price by 10%. And then when you say, and then you did it beautifully, when you say, oh, that's a lot of money, I'm going to then give you the 10%. I didn't know we were doing that. I'm cool with that. Let's do it. So instead of me saying 10,000, let me say 11, and then you give me the line because it's beautiful, and I'll give you $1,000 off. I mean, that is just great theatre. It's great energy and great bonding, by the way. Do you know, guys, I think that we should go back to the key message from last week as we wrap this up. I think we should wrap this up because I think we
might need a part 3. This might be a finale for a novella. You know, novella finales have like 12 parts.
Here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that you hit a comment on the YouTube or send us an email and say you want part 3. Say, Carlos and Sophia, I want to see you guys handle 15 different price objections, and we'll do it. Hey, listen, if one of you want to come on the show and throw some objections at us, we'll field them. We love it. We love it. I'd do that, wouldn't you, Sophia?
I would totally do that. Would love it. Let's go. Gloves on. No, I'm kidding.
Throw some price objection at us and let's see us do it. Of course, be ready, because if we really blow it, we probably won't publish that one. But I will publish the one where we look really good. Promise you that.
That's right.
And guys, you've got to understand, every single thing that we just told you, we meet. Is that fettuccine?
Fettuccine. Hi. Here's fettuccine on the pod.
Fettuccine on the mic. So you have to understand, guys, we run into this every day. It shouldn't happen to us. We should have the magic moves. I think we do have some magic moves. But the key message last week applies this week. Let the technique flow from intention. Whatever that technique is, if your intention is to empathize, to understand, and to help somebody make a great decision, in spite of the fact that they're trying to manage their own humanity and they're trying to manage the fact that they're playing a role and they've got their ego in the mix, there's a lot of human complexity. If you have got a great intention, let the technique flow from that intention.
Ooh.
And I promise you, it is never the right thing to do, to drop your pants and give them 10% off. It's just never. Never because of the objection. Now, I'm not a purist. Sometimes you cut someone a deal to drag them over the line. If it's a closing move, I've got a little more sympathy and it's nuanced. There's no black and white in sales. But guys, let the technique flow from intention. Try to really empathize and understand. Ask way more questions than you answer. And if a punch is coming at you, don't be there where it lands. When it lands, just don't be there. Have it prepped already. Sophia, Great pod today.
Great pod.
I think people should like and subscribe, don't you?
At this point, if you're still here and you haven't liked or subscribed, seriously, come on, just do it. You only regret the things you don't do. Okay?
So if enough people tell us that they want to hear more pricing stuff, we'll put it on next week. If not, hey, we'll come up with another great topic next week. But for now, it's good selling. It's goodbye from Sophia. Goodbye from Carlos. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.